So I just have to do this video because those of you who know me, y'all know how I feel about the church today, today's modern church, and what is being said and what is not being said from the pulpit. And so I was on social media the other day and listening to Jan Markell's podcast about this. And I'm like, this is so me and how I feel. And I've made countless videos about it, but I just had to cover this again. And this video is literally about the silence in the church and these pastors that are supposed to be shepherding their flock, but aren't, is something I've been talking about for the last 3 years. And so this was a confirmation for me to cover this. And if you don't follow Jan Markell, go to her YouTube channel and follow her. Do yourself a favor. I think her ministry is called Olive Tree Ministries, but I think her channel name is just her name, Jan Markell. So go follow her. So what I'm finding these days is that there's a hunger inside of people to be part of a remnant church. And people struggle to find a place to go to be a part of that type of church, the type of church that we had in the book of Acts. People are longing and so hungry for that, and they're not getting it or finding it anywhere in churches today. And so many pastors are silent about what is going on in the world, what is going on in Israel, and they say a quick prayer for Israel, and they just don't talk about anything. They don't talk about Bible prophecy unfolding before our eyes and living itself out, and where we're actually at on God's prophetic timeline. They're just silent about it. And this is not all pastors, but most pastors. And I honestly think the number one reason why pastors just won't talk about it in church is because it will disrupt people's lives. People who are seeking their purpose-driven life and who want to just be comfortable. It's just going to cause division if they talk about it. I mean, it's not like anything that's going on in the world is a secret. We've got wall-to-wall news from the mainstream media that doesn't ever cover anything, is literally covering it 24/7. And every single social media platform is covering it. Not to mention the countless massive demonstrations going on all over the world. You can't miss it. So why is it that you end up in church on a Sunday and you don't hear anything about it? And it's absolutely evident that this whole thing is ready to expand into World War III. Yet the silence in the church is absolutely deafening. This lack of urgency to discuss this in churches could be, I don't know, a theology issue maybe. I'm going to quote something from a man named Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I think that's how you say his name. And he said this: silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. Even families don't want to talk about what's going on. Families should be coming together in unity, sitting at the table, talking about the times, how are we going to plan physically, spiritually, and making sure that we're all on the right path. But families don't want to talk about it. It's almost taboo. And I try to keep my kids informed and all my loved ones, friends, family informed. But it's like, if a murderer showed up at your front door, wouldn't you expect me to tell you that there's a murderer at your front door? And this is what pastors need to be doing with their flock. Bible prophecy teaches us that in the last days, people will heap up for themselves teachers to tickle their itching ears, telling them pleasant things and the purpose that God has for their life, and all about prosperity and made up stories. That's what Paul told us. And so this silence and the turning away from the truth on current events, not enduring sound doctrine, and being all about self, the false trinity, me, myself, and I, is none other than apostasy. But the Bible tells us that it's the truth that sets us free. And while having the truth can be scary, God gave us all the tools we need to have peace in the midst of the storm. Do you not remember that Jesus slept in the boat with the disciples who were freaking out in the storm? But yet you have pastors that just won't talk about it, and they won't call out sinful behavior or talk about what's going on because the threat of making someone uncomfortable is what they fear, not even realizing that it may save their life. The Bible is very clear of the church's role, and our call to action is to actually be a mission field, a rescue mission. But instead, the church is on a cruise ship, enjoying the buffet, rather than on a rescue ship, all while people are starving for the saving gospel of Jesus Christ. Folks, this is not the real church. This is the apostate church. Let me tell you something. Israel was born in one day. No other nation in all of history was born in one day except Israel. And the moment that happened, God's prophetic time clock started ticking. And we are now living on borrowed time. And now, for the first time in all of history, Israel and the church are existing at the same time. And we know and see, with everything we see going on with Israel and what the Bible says, that God is about to go to work with Israel and be done with the church here on earth. It is truly a remarkable time for the believer to be alive. And Paul said, not all of us will sleep. Some of us are going to pass from life to life. And we ought to be looking for Jesus every day like he told us to be, not sitting here dismayed and growing weary. God told us everything in his word that's going to happen so that we will be prepared and ready. And folks, if you can't tell or see that there is a peace agreement coming in the very near future from none other than the Antichrist himself, and it will be a false peace, but people are so desperate for peace and normalcy that they are going to accept him, and the world will welcome him in. The next event on God's prophetic calendar is the rapture. Like it or not, believe it or not, wouldn't you rather be prepared than not? Because it's only going to happen one time. And then after that is 7 years of massive judgment upon the earth and man. So this is not a time for church leaders or even Christians to be lazy and hiding the truth from people. Belief in the imminency of a pre-tribulation rapture should cause you to get rid of all procrastination and go preach the gospel with urgency and wanting Christ to find you faithful when he comes.